Hello my friends, this is one of my favorite computers. It has really nice visuals with blue motifs all over the place, balanced components with the amazing Atom XP 2400 Plus and GeForce 4 Ti 4200. Retro geek approved acoustics, just listen to this. And an interesting and well ventilated mesh type case. But because we're never satisfied with what we have, I've decided to make some upgrades, mainly the video card. And in my infinite wisdom, I thought that a Radeon 9550 is a worthy upgrade over the GeForce 4 Ti 4200. What do you guys think? This is a Radeon 9550 built by Sapphire with active cooling. This is going to be relevant later. I've tested this card in another video, but this time I have a way more capable CPU. Back then I had a Pentium 4 Willamette. The card has similar specs with the GeForce 4 Ti. The main differences are the higher memory bandwidth and the extra 4 texture mapping units in favor of the Titanium. The Radeon has 4 times more video memory, and this is always helpful, right? In 3D Mark, the GeForce 4 is faster by around 12%, both in 2000 and 2001 SE. The Radeon on the other hand is faster in 3D Mark 03 by a hefty 45%. Of course, this is to be expected, because 3D Mark 03 has some DirectX 9 capabilities, which the GeForce 4 lacks. In Quake 3, the GeForce is faster by quite some margins, even when using anti-aliasing and anisotropic. I should have expected the GeForce to be faster in older games. It has better specs, and the older games are not shader intensive, an area where the Radeon 9000 series cards were very good. Speaking of older games, in MDK2 we again see that the GeForce is faster, and the ATI card manages to get in front only when using anti-aliasing. Still, the GeForce 4 manages to keep its ground even with 4x anti-aliasing and 8x anisotroping. Really nice. In Underground 1, a game from 2003, we have 33 average FPS for the GeForce 4 and 24 average FPS for the Radeon, a 30% difference. I've used 1280 by 960 resolution and almost maximum settings. Look at this, the Ti 4200 is a beast of a card, it's simply faster than the Radeon. Also, when playing on the Radeon I could feel the FPS dropping, anything under 25 is bad FPS. Have a look at this portion right here, things are not looking very good for the Radeon. In Unreal Tournament 2004, the differences are around 55% in favor of the GeForce 4. The Radeon reaches GeForce 4 level of performance only out of combat. Of course, this was just average FPS measured with fraps during one run for each game. The results are not extremely precise, but when we have 50% differences, the margin of error is irrelevant. The GeForce 4 is simply faster. But what about a game where ATI cards were very good? Far Cry was released in 2004, and yeah, we have the same performance for both cards. Here we can clearly see that the Atom XP is bottlenecking both cards, but this is the computer that I'm using. Yeah, the Radeon is not an upgrade, it should have been obvious from the beginning. I've always looked at this card as a Radeon 9600, I don't know why. I've also tried some Omega drivers, but I had similar results, maybe slightly lower, both stock and overclocked. Speaking about overclocking, the Radeon 9550 is a strange card, and it's strange because the chip is an RV350, the same one used for the Radeon 9600 and 9600 Pro. Comparing the specs of these cards, we can see that the Radeon 9550 is clocked at only 250 MHz, but the chip can do technically 400 MHz, just like the 9600 Pro version. And second, this particular version has DDR2 memory chips, clocked at 400 MHz, and those of you that are tech geeks know that 400 MHz is really low for a DDR2 chip. Bringing these together, we conclude that this particular card can be overclocked like crazy, both the chip and the memory. Let's proceed with the overclock then, using ATI tray tools. I've started with 300 MHz for the chip and 500 MHz for the memories, but after the initial tests were successful, I went further with the chip to 350 MHz. We now have a Radeon between the 9600 and 9600 Pro. I did the tests from the ATI tray tools, all was well, no issues, both the benchmark and the looking for artifacts thingy. I let it run for 40 seconds, yeah I know, too little but also too late, I've already done the recording. All the benchmarks finished without any issues. Afterwards I dragged the slider to maximum for the chip, 375 and then 550 MHz for the memory. We almost have a Radeon 9600 Pro now. Again, no issues with the benchmarks, all was smooth sailing. During the tests I've tried to professionally gauge the hotness of the video card, both for the chip and the memories. Let me tell you that after half an hour of tests, while overclocked, the Radeon was as cool as any other cool video card. The active cooling does its job. And the memory chips in particular were extremely cold. This is magic, I'm telling you. But let's see the overclocking results. In Quake 3 we have some disappointing results. Even the overclock did not help the poor Radeon. It did help it go past the GeForce, but only when using anti-aliasing and anisotropic, having an 11 increase over the GeForce 4 Ti 4200. The overclocked Radeon is 27% faster than stock frequencies. After previously taking the beating from the Titanium, the Radeon comes from behind with lower FPS at 1024x768 highest settings. What's up with that? But when using 8x anisotropic, the overclock did the trick. 133 FPS, better than the GeForce and 19% faster than stock. Adding 4x anti-aliasing into the mix, the Radeon becomes 70% faster than the GeForce and 50% faster than stock frequencies. This is some free performance right here, not bad at all. In Far Cry we are extremely limited by the CPU and hence the results are not that conclusive. 3 FPS increase compared to stock is not helping at all. I'd rather use default and pay $1 less on the electricity bill. So, the overclock did help beat the GeForce 4, but the card can do more, so let's try and do more. Because I couldn't overclock the chip any higher, I've tried updating the card with a Radeon 9600 Pro BIOS, hoping that I will have increased frequencies, because this is what I saw on the internet, and because I'm just a sheep that follows tutorials blindly, all I got was this, and this, and this. Yeah, you would think that I made the backup of the BIOS, right? Well, I've tried, but I couldn't, so no BIOS backup. But at least I have the BIOS version, and thankfully I found the BIOS for this exact card. Install it and there you go, back to where we've started, stock 9550, but this time with a twist. I've used the Rabbit tool to edit the BIOS and increase the frequencies from there. You can also change the device ID and have a wonderful Radeon 9600, but I had a lot of crashes and issues when doing this. I don't know if it's because the ID or other things, but I've reverted to the default BIOS. Open the BIOS, drag the slider to the max, save the BIOS. Open the BIOS again, and now we can further increase the frequency. Let's say that I've tried a lot of frequencies, but at the end I've settled at 400 MHz for the chip and 600 MHz for the memories, which is absolutely amazing. We now have a full-blown Radeon 9600 Pro with 256 MB of video memory. What's not to like? The performance increase is like this, 25% faster than the stock Radeon in 3D Mark 2001, and it also manages an 8% higher score than the GeForce 4 Ti. Quake 3 sees minor performance improvements. At over 140, 5 FPS extra means nothing. Also, for some of you unbelievers, and because I don't want to answer comments such as "Why are you faking your numbers?", here is proof regarding 400 and 600 MHz. It's not like I have anything to prove. After all, we're talking about components used for powering the machines that build the pyramids. No one cares, with the exception of those that care, obviously. In MDK2, I've reached 124 FPS with anti-aliasing and anisotropic, 65% more performance than stock, and 82 more performance than the GeForce. Don't forget, we've started with almost the same performance between the two cards. In Flatout, a game from 2004, at 1280 by 960, maximum settings, no anti-aliasing or anisotropic, we have a big jump in performance, from 22 to 33 average FPS, 50% increase. Looking at some gameplay, we can see that the game becomes playable like from thin air. We have around 30 FPS all the time. Again, nice performance boost. 10 plus FPS at these low frame rates are a life changer. There are 3 things that must be extracted from this entire stuff. First, this is not technical advice. Don't blame me if you destroy your card by doing what I did. Second, the Radeon 9550 is bottlenecked by the Athlon XP. We'll need a faster CPU to unleash its full potential. And third, speaking about potential, this card has a lot. I'm sure that I can go higher, and maybe in a future video I will. Will I keep this card at these frequencies? Not yet, not now. I'll need to pair it with a faster CPU, and then we'll see. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, don't be nostalgic by damaging your old components.